righteousness towards your fellow man or woman is loving your neighbor as yourself. Loving your fellow man. In other words, treating your neighbor the way you would want to be treated yourself. That's the definition of righteousness. So these things go way, way back to the first century and before, all these words. And that's why this is a very interesting modern, latter-day offshoot of those sort of concepts. And I mentioned before that some movie stars now are very interested in this kind of thing, and jazz musical people, rock, I guess you'd call it. Madonna, as I mentioned, sees herself as the queen of Kabbalah. And I told you that when I encountered her, she said, well, Kabbalah is anything I say it is. I said, well, that's interesting. I didn't know that's what it was. But anyway, that's fine. Anyone can say whatever they want. And I'm glad that she likes to read all this stuff. So you say that's the underground mystical tradition. It's actually the same word in Arabic as Hebrew. In Arabic, to receive. Kibel. Look kibel. Based on KBL. To receive, meaning we receive the tradition from the previous generation. That's a noun based on the verb KBL. In Arabic, it's the same word. KBL means to receive. So you can get lots of things like this. So you ask, how do these conceptions from the 17th century go all the way back to the time of Christ and before, through Kabbalah? Through Kabbalah. Some people might put a double B here. No, I don't know if that looks good. Maybe it's a double L. There's something missing here, but I can't see it.
It's double L.
There's a double L? Okay, double L. Something's missing. I can't see it very well from this perspective. So that's really how it happened. And then in the Middle Ages, a book of Kabbalah was written down called the Zohar. We have an instructor in our department who likes to teach the Zohar, meaning brilliant light. But that's a sort of weird sort of amalgam of Neoplatonism, Greek thinking, and mystic thought, and biblical interpretation and stuff. No one knows how it suddenly appeared in the 13th century. But then these groups in Eastern Europe cottoned on to it, and then they started their own mystical movements. And of course, a big word in those traditions was Hasid, piety. And that's where you get this word. Someone said Orthodox. Well, we have an Orthodox person in this story. Who's that? What? It's the narrator. What's his name? What? No, that's not the narrator.
Reuben.
Reuben Malter is the Orthodox person. And he's actually seems liberal. We would say him, if you look today, he would observe all the practices of Orthodox Judaism. He would seem extremely orthodox to us, conservative, very traditional. But these Hasidim are even more way out, if you want to call it, than he is. So he looks upon them as weird. They're all in Judaism, supposedly. Someone said if you get, 3 Jews in a room, you get 4 opinions. Get 10 in a room, you get 13 opinions, or something like that. I mean, people think there's a Jewish plot or something to take over the world, all these silly, red herrings that you hear thrown around out of trying to work up dislike of people and so on. And shibboleths, they're sometimes called, because in the Bible, you know what the shibboleth was? It means, it's a funny word, shibboleth. I assume you read this books. You don't need me to maybe get through the whole thing. I'm going to get through it at this rate. I hope I will. You see here, they knew that the surrounding peoples pronounced shith. So as a password in one of the books of the Bible, they gave the word shibboleth. So at night they would ask, what's the password? And shibboleth meant an ear of corn. And so if the person said sibboleth, they'd kill him, because they knew he was from surrounding people who they were fighting against or whatever, or they were taken prisoner or whatever they would do. If he said shibboleth, they'd let him through. I don't know if you've seen the old movies, you know, when in the American soldiers in World War II, they'd say, who was the pitcher for the New York Yankees in 1942, or something like that. And they would have the Germans or something like that, oh, I don't know. So then they would